I just remember this one moment, and it was pretty eye opening. It was like, on the one hand, it was kind of like, you know, why, why are you doing this? But then I also had that answer as to why I'm doing it.
Lyanne Brooks Soulgasm Hawaii. November 2022 is the 15th anniversary of Soulgasm. I know that you love house music and you love dance, choreography, all things about the movement and the music and the culture. How did house music in particular come into your life?
Great question. Ooh, it definitely came into my life, that's for sure. Definitely the club environment.
Which clubs were you going to
I
at the
was going
time?
to the Wave,
Mhm.
and yeah, so for me it was early 90s.
Mhm.
Actually the first club I went to, it it wasn't so much like house, but it was the first club. I was still in high school.
We all were. You kind of look like her. Yeah.
So that was a different experience. It was a point after. I don't know if you remember that place.
I remember Lisa D was a DJ there. Is that
I
right?
think so. So that was like my first kind of club experience. But
Mhm.
then I was hanging out, because I was hanging out with a lot of older people. Then they would kind of, like, some of them would go by like the garage and some of these other places.
Mhm.
And I was still young. But I thought I was hearing the bass from the garage,
Mhm.
and there was so many people out there, and it was just different, like totally different from, say, like point after.
Mhm.
That's what drew me in. The just the booming sound, and it just seemed kind of interesting and different and a little mysterious. I didn't know what was going on, but I thought, oh my God, I need to go there.
Pink's Garage was like a supplemental club to Pink Cadillac in Waikiki because that was more techno music and house music.
Super different.
Do you remember who you hung out with? Anybody?
Um, I hung out with a lot of my girlfriends and
Mm.
actually my surfer friends too.
Oh, yeah.
It was very interesting because people from all these different walks were
Mhm.
basically going there. And so that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
But super underground, right?
Right.
But like, so I wasn't just hanging out with a certain group of people. It was like some of my girlfriends from high school would go, and then I had surfer friends that lived in town and they would go, and other friends that hung out at different spots. Then I'd like meet up with them, and
Mhm.
then other dancers too. So it was a bunch of different people. But yeah, it was really awesome.
When you were growing up, were you into, I guess, the different trends and fads? The 1980s is like
Hmm.
popping, locking, and
Hmm.
whatever was like. What was your show on MTV? Was it Yo
Oh,
MTV
oh,
Raps,
I love this
MTV The
question.
Grind?
I love this question. Uh, the first show that I really, really liked or loved
Yeah.
was the Yo MTV Raps. And then I really liked 120 Minutes.
Hmm.
I also like Headbangers Ball. Um,
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, but I was really young when the Yo MTV Raps first started. So that one was really like cool because I was already into street dancing
Mm.
by then, right? Like I was already doing hip hop, and I kind of grew up around a lot of the breaking and the popping and the locking. So to see that on TV was a really big deal, and then see those artists and then hear that music in like a visual situation was really cool.
When you were watching the programs and the videos,
Mhm.
were you identifying with the the artists that were performing the songs, or were you like, can you guys showcase more of the dancers because you noticing certain moves that were
Mm.
happening?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely both. Like the videos that did have a lot of dancing, I definitely gravitated towards it.
Hmm.
I like all the fashion too, and even like the little kind of interview type of things, like when Fab Five Freddy would go around and just talk to people, things like
Hmm.
that. So I like that part too, like just kind of seeing how that environment might be like with some of the people that are like involved in it or part
Mhm.
of it. But for sure, like the videos, the ones that had dancing, yeah, that was a big deal. It's like, oh, did you see that video? Like, yeah, I think people who did dance,
Mm.
we definitely knew which videos were what, and then kind of following some of those dancers in a way where, like, oh, yeah, like I like this guy or this girl or whatever, and how they look. So we might see them again in other videos, things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Where did the shift come up where you began to have more of a focus and support and trying to get other people to know what house music
mm,
was? I mean, that's like a leap into soulgasm.
mm,
That's like another 10 or 15 years before that
right.
happened.
Yeah.
So, what was going on before that?
Before that, well, I was always dancing. I also made mixtapes.
Yeah.
I would do those kinds of things. Um, yeah, I was also like paying attention to DJs too and
Hmm.
things like that. When I would hear the music, aside from kind of seeing like, oh, what record is that? Motivated or inspired me to move. So I think that that's why the dancing was something I did pay attention to. But not necessarily so much that it was to the exclusion of other things, but it was just a natural thing.
Hmm.
And then starting to go out to the clubs and things, and then later I just noticed that dancing in a lot of the club environment was changing, and I also missed that environment, like being in an atmosphere where people are just feeling very free and open
Yeah.
in a house environment. So that was a big reason as to why I thought, okay, instead of being bummed out or upset or whine about
Mhm.
it, I should do something about it. But I
Oh.
was also teaching dance on the side
Mhm.
already. I was teaching some of the hip hop stuff, and then I was still into house music
Mhm.
and listening to it. Yeah, just the messages are a lot more uplifting and
Mhm.
positive. So I felt with this, from what it seemed to me was like a generational gap, I just felt inspired that I need to do something about it
Mhm.
because it's kind of like non-existent in a way
Mhm.
during that time. So that was like how I leaped into it. And then of course, I was already good friends with DJs, the whole situation, you know.
Mhm.
I think that that helped because I did pay attention to like what spots, and I did know, like venue owners and other promoters and things like that.
Mhm.
So that definitely helped me decide to do it. And I had a dance studio too. When I started that dance studio, I knew that I would do some kind of night or some kind of thing because the music drives the dance, in my opinion. So, if the music's not around, there's no culture for that.
Mhm.
It's like we're just gonna dance in our room, or it's not as fun. I like it when it's available to more people and to the public. So that, yeah.
When you had said about like dancing in your room, it reminded me of bedroom DJs
Yeah.
when people would pick up the turntables and have the crates.
Mhm.
And then nowadays it's just like a thumb drive. If
Yeah.
even that, maybe they
Right.
just like look at the computer and it just goes. So before Soulgasm,
Mhm.
there were other um, events and venues and promoters
Mhm.
that were doing um, similar gatherings. Nothing like Soulgasm. I mean,
Mhm.
not only is it going on 15 years, there is it's house music, it's soul, it's R&B, it's funk,
Mhm.
and it's not necessarily underground if
Mhm.
you've been just with the music
Mhm.
um, even if you dip out, it's just like there is that thread of you know the music, you know, it's familiar. Do you remember the events and the DJs that you eventually would be consistently supporting?
Daniel J.
Mm. How did you meet Daniel?
uh
Daniel J. Ward. Yeah.
right. I first really heard him like at the garage, but I knew he did like the Love Club, and one of my best friends that I started hanging out with like through dancers. He's a DJ, and we just totally clicked, and he maybe not mentored, but Daniel let him in to wherever like Daniel would be playing, and especially at the garage when he was under. So
That's my roadie. It's fine.
yeah. So yeah, he would be a big name for me. I mean, as far as directly. And then of course Daniel J. I mean, everybody knew Daniel J. Pretty much my friend, because he was into like more East Coast house. And because of my background, I think, and just gravitating to the more soulful side of music, you know, most people know these people of that sort of time in the early 90s, like, you know, Daniel J, Felix, James Coles, Forrest from Maui. And then like Kevin Koga,
24K.
and then like, you know, later at the wave, like KSM and Alex. Who else? Gosh, there's so many people. But those are like the main ones that I knew of. But I always respected Daniel J.
So Lyanne and I, we met in real life. It's like
Yeah.
acquaintances just by name
Right.
over the seasons.
Yeah.
Daniel J. Ward had passed away in January 2020. Quick turnaround of a memorial in Waikiki at Barefoot Beach Cafe, right? Shout out Kekoa and Sakara for coordinating that, along with Dave O'Day, Tammy, and I mean, just a whole bunch of people. We were recording various people's testimonials about what you remember about Daniel. And when you were done, I had to tell Lyanne, I was like, Daniel loved playing at Soulgasm. It was like, if it wasn't his favorite, other than where he would be with Love Club or other, his primaries.
Right.
But he was like such a fan of yours, Lyanne. So,
Aw.
I mean, he just loved that you were doing. I mean, he's just like, there were a lot of events going on, and that would be part of the rotation. It's like we either start in Chinatown or downtown Honolulu, and then we would make our way into Waikiki, and there were after parties, you know, past 2:00. And especially going out with Daniel or meeting up with Daniel, he'd be like, okay, I'm going to be there. And sometimes, you know, just waiting for him. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Cause I didn't want to leave and just, you know, just be dancing, you know? So with your relationship with these DJs, and because you appreciate the music, you're a dancer, never wanting to DJ, did you dabble before you're like, it's not a good fit? Or it's a good fit, but you know.
Yes. I think the best way to answer that question is I really didn't think I would be doing any of this.
Really?
Yeah.
15 years and going.
I wasn't like thinking like, oh, I'm going to be a dance teacher, or I'm going to choreograph. Even though I was doing these things naturally, I didn't think that that's what I would kind of do.
What did you
in
think
that
you were
kinda
going to
way.
do? I mean, what
I have no
as a kid?
idea.
Okay, so when you were a kid, were you going to be like a pilot or
Yeah, I
you know,
wanted
run a
to
company and, you know?
not a company. I did think of like astronaut. There was a time I thought of a lawyer too,
Mhm.
but mostly like astronaut, like space travel, or just yeah, nothing to do with any of this. Although I love it, I always love it. When I was a little kid, it just and I did want to be a gymnast. I wanted to be wanted to go to the Olympics. That was a big one. So
That's a great connection right
yeah.
there, because it's movement and the freedom of, you know.
And then there was acting too. So when I was in middle school, I used to be in like a drama club. Yeah, I thought I was going more in that direction.
Mhm.
So yeah, I didn't think really so much about dance or running a night and doing that kind of thing. I was happy to like participate in everyone else's,
Mhm.
but it was just I felt a need later,
Mhm.
like, okay, I guess it's my turn or it's all of our turns, and I would be telling everybody like, come on, we need to do something.
Mhm. Before Soulgasm Hawaii
Hmm.
became Soulgasm Hawaii in 2007,
Hmm.
what was Soulgasm's, what begat that?
Mm. So, like I was saying, when I started my dance studio, I knew I wanted to do a night.
Mhm.
And then I also knew it would take me some time to gather up DJs and, my friend that I was talking about that knew Daniel J. His name is
Mhm.
Shane. Shout out Shane. Um, so I would always be talking to him like, okay, like let's do this thing, I'm
Mhm.
gonna start my studio, like we need to do something, like share the music. And so that was like the plan. And so I did do a party. And then prior to that, I had met a house dancer from New York. He's like major, he's amazing. Ejo Wilson, shout out to Ejo. And anyhow, he was in Hawaii, so he came to the party and it was called So Much Love. And so him and I worked a lot together, like teaching dance and this kind of thing. Like I invited him out here and he did like special workshops and things. After that, he said, like, why don't I also adopt that name because uh he had a party called Soyasm in New York with his silhouette
Mm.
as the image. Um and so he was like a partner to it. He was one of the co-founders. So he basically was like, "Hey, let's connect our parties." I had to think about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have the same name.
Mhm.
Um, but then I realized like, okay, yeah, actually this is an honor. It's a privilege. So, yeah, why not?
Mhm.
We both share a mutual passion for the music and the dance. Because even before that, he would ask me like, "Why house? Is it just nostalgia?"
Yeah.
And I told him, "No, it's a soulful thing. Like that's timeless, and there's nothing really else like it around right now. And so I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna be into it. Hopefully that answers your question.
November 2007. Where was the first venue for that first event?
It was at Lotus Waikiki. I think it used to be sort of like a Pizza Hut or something. I don't know.
Everything
It's a
used to be
two
a
floor,
Pizza Hut. Delicious.
a 2 floor place. Not too far from. Was it the Big Kahuna?
Wait, is that the one it had like double stairs? Or maybe that's another one. So many places in
Oh my
Waikiki got
gosh.
repurposed.
Yeah.
At least
Uh,
that's the original recyclers. Waikiki
I
venues. Mahalo.
think there might have been maybe it's next to an ABC store.
Leanne.
But I know I'm like
She got
making it
jokes.
worse.
She got jokes.
That's like every block.
Uh,
But it's near Big Kahuna. I don't
okay.
know if you know that place.
I'm gonna say yes
Okay.
because I've
I
I've
think
been alive for a very long time. So eventually I
anyway. Yeah.
would have hit it.
So it was over there. I don't think we had the logo. Still remember the flyer. I put all these house music artists and even like people that are part of the earlier time
Hmm.
on that flyer. So it was like like a collage
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
all these people. I thought it would be really cool to kind of show some faces and like
Hmm.
real people behind the music instead
Hmm.
of just this name, you
Hmm.
know, like, okay, what does that mean? So, and then if I put house, I'm okay. So, yeah, we made this collage, me and one of my dance students. And then later we used Ijo's image. And then my friend and I. So Jamie, shout out to Jamie. Um, she like we chose a different font. And then we did like this kind of rainbow thing
Mhm.
over, similar to what the other people had in New York. Little different. Just the
Mhm.
only thing was the silhouette.
What did you do for that first night? Did you know that it was going to be uh, done with some kind of frequency?
It was gonna be on a weekly basis, and it was.
Mhm.
We started on a weekday, so Wednesday,
Mhm.
and when we launched, my some of my dance students performed, so that was really cool to see them do their thing. And then we had some live art, and Bessa was there. He did art. Um, I feel like maybe Woes, Aaron Martin, shout outs. I think he he was definitely present. I feel like he was doing art that night too. Or maybe he did one later. But for sure Mbessa, he was on the stage and he did this like line drawing thing. It was really cool. I put together like kind of this interactive thing. It wasn't just the music. It was
Right.
a bunch of different things.
Mhm.
Sort of like a show embedded into a club night. Not enough to just have you be an audience, but a little bit of like seeing certain things and being exposed to certain things
Mhm.
and kind of opening up some ideas.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, invite you to participate in the whole thing. At least that's what I think I was doing.
So it wasn't just for the sake of just having activities. It was very purposeful curation
Yeah,
for each
absolutely.
week. When did it become where you felt and you got feedback that Soulgasm Hawaii was like a mainstay, like it had legs where you could continue to do it comfortably?
Mm. I think when you see people return
Mhm.
for sure over and over,
Mhm.
and they're not just your friends,
Mhm.
they're new people and they're really into it, and they come up, when they find out that, I guess, okay, yeah, I'm kind of doing this thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, that definitely made an impact. Like, okay, wow, like there's people who are genuinely feeling this. There's something about this night that brings them back over and over. And there are people collecting flyers and everything. And there was a one flyer run we did where we had like a discount on it
Mhm.
in the corner. If you brought the flyer, you get like a little discount. So there was actually people who would like save those and like go around and try to find it,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is cool. I'm like, yeah, use it. It's like giving you that signal, like, okay, there's something to this. Yeah. I don't know if necessarily it's like, okay, you got it,
Mhm.
but definitely gave you that clue, like, okay, there's something to this that is special.
November 2008. Was
Hmm.
it still weekly in that first year?
No, I think we transitioned to the weekend.
Mhm.
So it was at the Lotus for a few months.
Mhm.
And then we were at this other spot, Visions. It was really cute, actually, near that Lobster King place. It's in the back. It was such a cute spot. We did something on the weekend
Mhm.
in downtown. I think it was maybe Indigo.
Okay.
And then from there, we had like opportunities to then have like a weekend night. So then it was like, okay, do we do a weekday,
Mhm.
or we transitioned to a weekend? And I thought, okay, um, this is a great opportunity. It's a lot more competitive, but more people are available to go out
Mhm.
and things like that. So I thought, okay, we can start off as a monthly, like that's manageable, and we're on the weekend. Like, let's do it. So we moved, and then I still remember that first year anniversary. It was great. It was really awesome.
Was
When
this an Indigo
this
also?
was at the Loft. So we ended up at the Loft. Um as far as like a residency.
Mhm.
At least for that first year, we were there at least maybe half the year.
Did you have a team at that point, or were you primarily just the main and there'd be occasional folks that could like pitch in?
My dance students were involved. Some of
Mhm.
them, the really serious ones, were very supportive, and they were
Mhm.
like, "Let's do this,"
Yeah,
you know.
someplace to get their moves out on the floor,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Jamie, who I mentioned, yeah, she was really into it. So when we moved to that weekend, it was awesome. Speaking to when you said like when you can kind of recognize if you have some kind of legs you stand on, I could then see it a lot more clearly. Like,
Mm.
okay, there's a whole bunch of other people that are here. And then they're coming every
Yeah,
month.
and they're bringing at least one other person.
Yeah. And it's like growing. And
Yeah.
then every time we would do a party, we were always the most busiest one
Mm.
that weekend night. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, who knew? Like,
Yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on?
so good.
Wow. Yeah.
By 2009 or 2010, in your rearview mirror, as I like to say,
Mm.
2010, 2011, were there any significant spots or people that would do drop-bys? Did you have a regular roster that you kind of went to? I don't DJ. I don't know how this world works, you know.
2010. So by then, I had Kentaro,
Mhm.
who was also with us from the Lotus days. I had met Matt Key by then for sure.
Mhm.
And I would see him around, and it might have been around then when he approached me to do some kind of fundraiser. And so after working with him, yeah, so that was one of those where he wanted to work with me and like be part of it. And he still is to this day. People, want to guest or want to be part of it, which
Mhm.
I really appreciate.
Mhm. Mhm.
If they seem like they need a home or something,
Mhm.
like, hey, hi.
Yeah. Guests that would come through that
Mm,
you would fly in. Um, Maybe it wasn't for an anniversary, but it was just like they're available in February. So,
mm,
having somebody come in.
mm. They heard about me. They knew I was teaching house.
Mhm.
Like people knew me in Japan, like
Mhm.
people in Boston, East Coast. With some of the people that I know,
Mhm.
they had a lot of great things to say about me. And then about the party.
Mhm.
Like through good friends of mine, they would mention like, "Oh yeah, like I have this friend and such and such and such. Like you guys should meet." Like if you look at the guests I have, they're from like Seattle.
Mhm.
There has been some from Jersey, some that maybe then have moved to LA, from Atlanta,
Mhm.
Florida, Japan, Singapore.
You're drawing from 15 years of getting ready for a night,
Mhm.
and you're always planning it and just putting people, slotting them in like throughout the year. Like you just have your calendar, your planner out, and it's just like, I need to fill July.
I think because I have like a crew of residents,
Mhm.
so then it's pretty set
Mm.
in a way, but there's always a guest slot
Mhm.
every month. There's actually a kind of a long list of people that have requested to spin.
Mm.
So for some years, it's just been this list of getting through it, which is awesome. But, it's like one guest per month. So it does take us time
Mhm.
to get through the list. So even right now, there's still a handful that, we do intend to guest getting through that list.
Born and raised in Hawaii or on Oahu.
Yes, yeah. Born and raised. I did grow up in Kalihi.
Kalihi's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I love it. But it also introduced me to all that dancing,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing, a lot of music.
Were there any people, any clubs that on your off event nights that you would go and support?
I used to really like going to this like reggae dance hall night, and on Thursdays it was at Living Room.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of my favorite nights. There was a bunch. Whenever there were like DJs, like guest DJs in town, I frequented a lot of places in downtown, like next door or 39 Hotel, which we then later ended up over there. But a lot of the spots, like I'm still into it,
Mm-hmm.
aside from throwing a party, I'm still into being part of the nightlife community and the scene and checking out other things, other music. Gosh, that's a long time. So
Yeah.
it's like thinking
My life.
of, all these different parties, and that reggae one, yeah, that one stands out.
The living room that was the second floor of the Fisherman's Wharf. Is that the same one?
Yeah.
Getting back to Soulgasm,
Yeah.
you were at the Loft, where that would be in relation to where we are in 2022.
Monacan Hotel. We then moved to Soho. So that was before Scarlet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Soho, shout outs to Daniel Gray. We miss you. And so yeah, we were there. And then also with Marty, who is over at next door. So we were over there at Soho and then to 39 Hotel. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Shout outs to Timo. Yeah.
that was Gelleray,
Yes.
and I call him Doc Chittum, Mark Chittum.
Oh yeah. Yep. Shout outs to that whole crew. Yeah. So then we're at 39 and then bar 35.
That's really great.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
great location.
Yeah,
People
I love
know
that
Bar
place.
35.
Yeah.
And now it's, even after just a few years,
Mhm.
it's become synonymous. However, in Hawaii,
Mhm.
March 2020, everything shuttered business wise for a year at least. And then there's a partial opening. And then I guess since January of 2022, if not earlier,
Mhm.
everything's been good and healthy and safe, and you can wear your face covering if you like. It's not necessary.
Mhm.
January, February, going into March of 2020. What was your year looking like before the COVID-19 pandemic?
The year was looking great. We opened up
Mm-hmm.
with a special guest, Mark DeClive Lowe, and it was an amazing party. We also did that tribute for Daniel J. Following party, we had a guest, Esteban, and that was another amazing party. And then in March, we had another guest, AC Lewis from Seattle, and he was here
Mm-hmm.
the week when things shut down. Kind of how it looked. um,
To refresh even my memory, it was 2 weeks. We were told it would be about 2 weeks.
Right.
Everybody stay in, only essential workers, toilet paper, Lysol spray, wipes, just everything to just keep clean. We were looking and scrounging around for face masks, and the 2 weeks felt like a big question mark. And then we also kind of had a feeling, because we talked amongst ourselves and our different crews, that it would go a month. Actually, and after that, it's like a blur. And then it just didn't let up.
Yes.
So when you found out that April, it didn't look like it was going to open up in May and July, when did you figure out that we need to let go of having anybody on the books?
I knew that year was going to be crazy.
Yeah. But we wanted it to be an upswing, not a downswing. Yeah.
Yeah, I did know it was going to be very interesting. So in some ways I was sort of not necessarily prepared, but I knew that it would be very difficult to count on anything. my thoughts were, okay, well, we just got to do our best and, of course, be safe and all that kind of stuff. And somehow figure out a way to still be in touch with our friends and stuff. And I think that was that is a priority, first checking in. And then, like, for those who need something, it was like, as far as with music, some kind of relief, like, what could we possibly offer? What is being offered? And how do we go about doing that? So it was those kinds of thoughts. And even with, like, the dance classes that I was doing. So later, when you could go to the park, it was like, okay, I can have, a handful of students come and dance. And that felt amazing for everybody. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the kind of thoughts I think, yeah, we were thinking.
The events were not only like someplace, something to do, it would be what people were really realizing is like, this was a place, this is like the once a month time. For some, that's the only night that they went out. That was the only thing they cared about, was just either hanging out, just listening, being social.
Yeah.
It's like really that that family, that
Yeah.
connection, that friendship.
Yeah.
And if that's happening with Soulgasm Hawaii, that one night a month, times it by all the other events across the night, and then the daytime, and going swimming, golfing, just everything. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
When did Soulgasm Hawaii come back for its first post still in pandemic event at Bar 35?
It was this year, January. So January 2022. Yeah.
Was it on the books, off the books kind of thing? Did you just kind of hold steady until the government and everybody said it was cool?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we did do the virtual thing, a few things prior to that, but we were, just kind of staying in touch with some venues and observing, like, what's happening. So I would go out here and there towards the later part of, what is this, 2021, just to see how things are going. And some places were doing parties. We were not yet, but we were keeping our eye out and just waiting also for Bar 35. And again, we were in touch with other venues, like, okay, well, depending on the timing, these other places could be possibilities. So that's kind of how we did that. And then also when we did the first one, I didn't want to push too hard. Just, like, announce it. Like, just basically announce it that we're back, and whoever feels ready and want to come out, great. And no pressure, but we'll be here. So that's how we approached it the first month, and I thought it was the best approach. Yeah. So we did get calls. Like, I got calls from friends, some that weren't necessarily ready to go out, but they were really happy to hear about that. So that was really sweet. And then some that were like, yes,
Yeah.
finally, So it was nice. It was such a nice party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Yeah.
Now we are celebrating the 15th year, November 2022.
So then this anniversary opening party is on the second Saturday. So we still have the third Friday residency at Bar 35, but we're doing this, special thing for the 15th. So that's second Saturday.
November 12th, 2022.
Yeah.
15 years.
Yes.
You didn't really imagine it being this long running. You were just doing it because you're like, I love the music. I love the people that love it as well. Just the entirety of it. So you continue to have it and host it. But you didn't really plan for 15 years.
Yeah. So, well, I didn't plan to do this, but once I decided to do it, I mean, I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it seriously.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would love for it to last as long as we're doing something good and worthwhile for everyone involved. Then let's keep going and then see what happens. Yeah, I'm not thinking of any kind of end or anything. Gonna be doing this for a while.
That's great. That's so
Yeah,
good.
I'm definitely gonna be. I mean, I love it. It's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot to do this. There was one year that really stands out. Maybe not necessarily the year, but a moment that stood out. Kind of early on, I was doing. This was at a time when we were doing like 3 weekends, pretty much 3 weekends. And one of the weekends we had this big thing, and I had curated this big show with dancers and fashion show and just all kinds of stuff going on. And it was fantastic. But I also remember um, carrying this load, and my car had broke down.
That's what it would be memorable.
And I was catching a bus. So then, I mean, I did rent a car too, but I just remembered this one moment, and it was pretty eye opening. It was like, on the one hand, it was kind of like, you know, why are you doing this? But then I also had that answer as to why I'm doing it. So that taught me like, wow, you must really love this thing.
To go above and beyond where it's like, we could just cancel the night because this is just extra. It's already extra planning it,
Right.
making sure everybody's on schedule,
Mhm.
showing up, settling at the end of the night, all those kinds of things, and planning for the next. But for you to additional out of pocket to have to
Mhm.
ensure that Soulgasm Hawaii happens for
Mhm.
other people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think I'm in love with
Like,
Soulgasm Hawaii.
oh my
I think it's a
gosh,
serious
like,
relationship.
yeah, like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I know why I'm doing it.
When do you remember when that was? That early on? That must have been early
It
on.
was early on. Yeah, we did a lot. It was pretty all out. Like in our third year, we had already put on a concert, with
Talk about that.
yeah, so we had this vocalist, Nadira Shakur. Shout out, sister. Do you remember that group, Arrested Development?
Yes.
Yeah, so she was a lead female vocalist.
Wow.
And then she's also the female lead in the Jimmy Buffett and Coral Reefer band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So she's Grammy nominated and all that. But she's also a house singer. She loves house music, and I love her music. And we had met when she was here one year, when she was with Jimmy was performing, I think. I don't remember if that was a Blazo show one or she was here. We had met, and so we talked about doing something together. We did do it. So this was in, I think, 2010. We did this at the loft.
Oh, that must have been
Yeah.
fire marshal kind of.
Well, it all worked out.
Yeah.
It was great. But I assembled a band. So we did all the house music and everything live. No DJ, no nothing. It was just like, the musicians, they had to learn the music and play it. And I had asked me to choreograph for her show. I choreographed like 5 numbers. So I had dance students, and then I also invited another friend of mine to do one of the songs together. So that was pretty fun. The crowd did not expect that.
Yeah.
because she had this one song, and it's about like some of the tragedies of war. So she wanted a female or myself to kind of be like this suicide bomber, a soldier on the opposing side, but somehow they kind of come face to face. But at first
Depiction
they're
through dance.
yeah, but at first they're on different sides with the song and the stage and um just kind of bringing that story to life was really cool. And so I ran off the stage as if the whole place was getting bombed or something. And the crowd was like kind of like screaming too. They really got into it.
Yeah.
And then I moved around in the crowd in a way where I opened up the space. And because my friend does capoeira and stuff and martial arts, he did like a little like flip off the stage and then ended up on the floor. And then we were doing all this like kind of capoeira, sort of different kind of dancing around each other, over each other, like diving over each other.
I bet some people are like, I didn't know Lyanne could do that.
Yeah, it was fun. They're like, oh my God, I did not expect that. Or our last anniversary before the shutdown, we had Lady Alma join us. And so I felt that it would be really cool for her to join us again for the first in person after that. So she's very, very, very dear to us. And I've been dancing to her music for a very long time. So I really appreciate her music, her presence, and her friendship. Of course, her manager, Tony, who's super awesome. And then Marley, he's amazing. We had met, and he was actually at the Soulgasm 8-year anniversary. So it's really cool to have him actually be spinning for the 15th. He's amazing. He's super cool too. And
DJ Marley Marl.
yes. And I've heard him spin a little. Like I got a little taste of how he spins house, and it's really good. And I mean, of course, with the hip hop, like people need to hear him. Like he's very good live because he's such a fantastic producer that people are thinking that, but it's like, no, this guy can DJ too. Of course, all the other guests in there: Paul Nelson, Ken Likes, Dehan, Marianne Ito. I love her. She's awesome. Drama, Woes, and then Victor, and then Rain is helping Alt too, and Locke, and Matt Key, and Alex Globes, and everyone else who's spinning with us and who's spun with us over the years. Nadira Shakur, I love you, and OVS from Yoruba Records, and Shane for being like my buddy through a lot of this journey. He was one of the few people that really liked East Coast type of house, or like the more soulful sort. Gosh, all the venues, the people behind the venues that we've ever been at. Yeah, the list goes on. And of course, my students, Kat, Lester, Sean, and Eric, and Jamie from back in the day, and Anna. Yeah, there's a lot. So I'll just say thank you, everyone, whoever has come through and supported. Yeah, you make my life so much happier.
I'm going to close it with a question about when you were growing up, anything that might have kind of nurtured or planted that seed that you might not have even considered that's what kind of led you here. I'm not going to say, what would you say to 7-year-old Lyanne? This is what I get to do. I get to host a space.
Yeah, I don't think I was like necessarily, I mean, I was set up in a way to do this because I wasn't trying to do it. Like music and dancing has always been very just something I do. Oh my gosh, you got me like teary now. It is what it is. You know, it's not something I'm trying to do. It's just I do it. Like it's natural to me. I feel as if we're all meant to do that. Some people have different innate abilities at first, but I think everyone can access it, you know, with some assistance if needed. Some don't. But it's available to us all. And so I think even wanting those other things, dancing and always being interested in music, but not having that so much like a thing to do or chase has kept it more real or pure. And yeah, so that's what I want to share.
It's still something that you really love for your reasons, and it still means something to you, and it continues to morph and change and evolve as things do.
And I want to add to that, like, you know, there's people that make the music, right? There's people that play the music. There's people that dance to the music. It takes people to do all of this. So I think that's like, we need to remember that. Yeah. So however we participate, the fact that we're all part of it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.